Hello and welcome to another episode of the Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review Podcast. This is episode 29. On this show, we showcase gun reviews, gear, and anything else a gun enthusiast may be looking for. We strive to evaluate products from an unbiased and honest perspective. I'm your host, Ryan Cross from the Firearms Radio Network, your source for broadcasts for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. Bandwidth for this episode is brought to you by Action Target. Today I have with me TJ Gauthier, the Firearms Insider Product Review Manager, and frequent guest and expert panelist Sam Asner. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Hey Ryan, how's it going?
Hey Ryan, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, did you guys get out and go shooting this week?
Yeah,
No.
I actually did. I got one of those see all open sites we discussed a couple of months ago. I got one of those in this last week, and I put it on my 1022 and shot that. That's pretty good little site. So just look out for a review for that.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to go shooting. Yeah, I'm itching so bad, but if everything goes according to plan, I'll be able to go to the range on Mother's Day, which is good because my mama's got to work on Mother's Day. So,
Oh man.
well, I guess that gives me a chance to get to the range. So good from bad, and I'll get a chance to run in my my new Glock 19 that I got from my friend a couple weeks ago. So looking forward to that.
Sweet. Congratulations, man. You're going to love it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I had shot some reloads out of my new Ruger Super Red Hawk, some 300 grain using Hodgdon H110, and then I also did some 44 special loads using Unique. They all did pretty well. I'm making the 44 special loads for just new shooters and my significant other because they don't want to have to deal with the recoil, and the only way I can convince them to try the gun out is if I promise that the loads are reduced. So kind of a little bit of a Dirty Harry action, or shooting lower powered out of the big gun, just a little bit of it trickery. But they did really
Question.
well. What's that?
Do you have some like mystical stockpile of Unique that you've had for a while, or are you able to find it currently?
Mystical stockpile.
Of Unique, a mystical
Yeah.
stockpile.
Yeah, and
'Cause
Bullseye, and Bargain.
Me and my friends ran out, and I know you can't really find anything, but apparently Unique is like super double extra hard to find ever, and that's like what we
because
based everything
It's
on.
so flexible. I mean, you could use it in so many calibers that it's kind of one of the first ones to be in high demand.
Oh, so many bullets laying around with no powder to put behind them.
Hey
Try
Sam,
something else.
I've got like
Well,
half a
that's-
can of Pyrodex. If that'll do you any good.
Well, that's what me and my friends finally stopped being lazy. So opened up our Lehman manual, and gonna hopefully look into getting some Bullseye or Super
Bullseye.
something.
Power Pistol.
Yeah, I think Power Pistol was one of them too.
I think Universal, Clays, Red Dot. I mean, there's a whole bunch for you to choose from. It's just, I mean, Unique. A lot of people call it shooting flammable dirt because it's it's dirtier compared to other calibers. So, but it works. It works really good. I use it for mostly 45 and now 44 special. But
So
if I could, I'd send you some 1 grain at a time. But
So are
Just
you
missed
actually
it.
shooting? Are you making actual specials, or are you just downloading a 44 Magnum?
make an actual. I've got 44 special brass.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
So
what I was
you-
asking.
200 grain bullets and Unique instead. So
Mhm.
did really well. I've got a 4-power scope on the revolver, and all my groups were really consistent at 50 yards. So hoping one of these days I'll get to actually take some big game with it.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. So right into announcements. We're still doing that Raid Tech giveaway. If you haven't already heard, I got a lot of people that have been leaving reviews and sending me an email. So there's a lot of entries, and you better get your name in there too if you want one of these ammo counters or the LED advisors or digital counters for your AR-15, 1911, Beretta 92 FS, M&P 9. Yeah, those are the only ones I have. So all you need to do is leave this podcast an iTunes review and send me an email with your name, your username, and your address and the preference in model that if you win, that you would like, and you're entered. So the deadline for entries is May 27th. So you still got some time. And just make sure you email me at cross@firearmsradio.tv in order for your review to be entered as an entry. So let's get right into the new product spotlight, and I picked something out that's a little different. Being that Mother's Day is around the corner, there's a lot of packing mamas out there, and so this is something that I saw from a release from the NRA show, and it's called Concealed Carry. And that's carry with a K or a C-A-R-R-I-E, like a woman's name. So I put a link to the show notes, and this is a shop for some special totes, purses, clutches, and handbags that you can put a gun in a concealed manner. So make sure to check these out. I'm not entirely up on my pricing for women's baggage items. It seems a little, it seems a little high to me. And I asked some other females, and they kind of agreed that it was a little high in price for the item. Some of these totes that are actually leather, depending on the quality of leather, could totally be justifiable as $250. But some of these like small microfiber, like compact clutches, they're still $200 or $150. So maybe I just haven't done enough purse shopping, and that's perfectly reasonable. In which case, I encourage you to go look for it. But if you're buying for your mother or the mother of your children, really, there's no amount of money that's too much to spend on them. So I guess you could look at these anyway, and they'd make a really good gift.
Yeah, assuming they like them.
Yeah.
You know, people can be pretty picky with their accessories, and if they don't end up liking them, then they're not going to carry them. So that could be one thing to think about. First thing I thought was a concealed carry is a pretty clever name, being that it's a female's name and the carrying of a gun. So I thought that was pretty neat. But the price I'm not sure about. I think they might be pretty competitive with other concealed carry purses, but I don't know about any other non-concealed carry purses. Other than the designers, of course, those are going to be way overpriced.
As far as purpose-built purses go, I think they're probably still a touch high, but they're still. I think they're fairly competitive price. It looks like their stuff is well made. It looks clean. It doesn't look like a concealed carry purse. Like, it definitely doesn't look like the newest Coach or whatever, Michael Kors bag or anything like that. But they don't look like you're hiding a gun in there.
They don't scream 511 tactical.
There's no Molly on the outside.
there's no Molly webbing. But I'm hating the tassels on the on some of them. It reminds me of my mother's like mid-90s, early 90s handbags. The tassels are really driving me nuts. The fob is a nice touch, but the tassel is really bugging me. Then again, I would never be buying one of these, so it doesn't really matter to me. But they look good. Like things like the smooth black leather tote. If you're getting a tote for $250 and it's structured to be a concealed carry option, that's pretty awesome. They seem like a great product, and like they definitely nailed it with the name. So,
I mean, if I was going to buy one of these for one of the women that I love. And I had to choose between, okay, this one doesn't have a pocket for concealed firearm and it's $150, and this one does have a pocket for concealed firearm and it's $250. I would definitely get the $250 one just because, it's if I'm getting it for someone and I know they're going to use it and it could potentially provide them with a firearm in a scenario where they need it the most, then yeah, it's priceless, really.
Yep.
I give it a thumbs up.
Yep, all different colors and styles to choose from: ostrich print leather, crocodile print leather, microfiber in different colors, red leather, pumpkin leather. There's even a little blue leather compact one that's kind of cool. So make sure you check that out at shop.concealedcarry.com.
And that's concealed carry, CARRIE.
Yes.
To reiterate, so people don't keep going to concealed regular carry.com.
Yeah. Think about the movie Carrie.
Yes.
Yeah. So the next product we have is from Surefire, and they're actually just released their new 22 caliber suppressor, and it's called the Ryder, the RYDER, kind of like how Red Ryder was spelled. So it's a 22 cal suppressor. It's just shy of 5.5 inches in length. It only weighs 3.1 ounces with a diameter of 1 inch. So it's the Ryder 22-A ultra light suppressor, optimized for both pistols and rifles, and it is you are able to disassemble it and clean the internals, which is a really nice feature because 22 long rifle is dirty, and a 22 can will get a lot of carbon buildup on the inside of it. What do you guys think? Not all at once.
I was being polite.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about suppressors, but it seems like that 3.1 ounces is a pretty good weight for that. And I was just kind of reading up a little bit, and it seems to be made of same thing a lot of other ones are made of. The aircraft aluminum with the hard coat anodizing and all that good stuff. The baffles seem to be kind of unique. If you can see those, they don't seem to be as standard as most 22 cans, but maybe that reflects on the price a little bit because it's kind of probably about twice as much as a lot of the other models. Plus, it's a Surefire, so of course it's going to be a little expensive.
Yeah, it is a little high. The MSRP's $469.
Yeah.
But well, let's see. If Sam, if you could own this in your state, would you pick it up?
Yeah, we were chit-chatting a little before the show, and you guys were like, "Oh, that's too expensive." I was like, "If I could spend $600, factoring in the $200 federal tax stamp, if I could spend $600 to get a suppressor, if the state of New Jersey releases information and said the Surefire Ryder is the only one you're allowed to buy, and it's $469 plus $200 for the feds, I would buy it that second. I would not care. It's just I kind of, it's always good to have an opinion on a product, but it's kind of tough to give an opinion on a product I wouldn't ever, in my current living situation, be able to purchase because I do live in the state of New Jersey. That being said, the price point is a little high compared to others, like you said, but it is a Surefire. They have a solid name in suppressors and the technology that they put into them. This one, with its unique styled baffles and the ability to remove them, and I believe I was reading an article the other day, and they're numbered in sequence. You could see it on the baffles, so there's no confusion. Easy to take apart, easy to clean, throw it back together. Design-wise, of the tube itself, I like the fluting on the can itself. That's pretty neat. And at 5, what did you say, 4.5 or 5 inches?
Yeah, just shy
Yeah,
of
five
five.
and a shy of 5.5. It's not too long. It's I think it's like just the right size, decent weight. I think it's sharp looking. Uh, if I lived in a state where it was possible, it would be something I'd have to save up for compared to like just being like, oh, let me go get a $200 can. But if the ability to clean it and it's the quality and the technology of those baffles, if that will lead to, let's say, 1.5 to 2 times the shelf life of the can, because eventually it'll wear out. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yeah.
That eventually a suppressor can only be kept up for so long until it won't do the job anymore because it's so beat up. But if this design and this ability to keep it cleaned a little more regularly keeps it running longer, then yeah, you paid 469, but you also only had to pay the tax stamp once. If it can work, to make up that difference. But like I said, I don't know the exact lifespan of this one versus another one, but I'm just saying it's something to consider, that maybe this will give you a little more use with its new design.
Well, that's actually a very good point, and I would say that that's the biggest selling point of why this costs, almost twice as much or over twice as much as something like a Tactical Solutions, just plain Jane 22 suppressor, or those might just be really just a downscaled suppressor. The one I have, you can't take it apart to clean. So at some point, that thing's going to get so gunked up that it's not going to be. It's got a shelf life for sure after so many firings. Whereas this, I think you can get a little bit more mileage out of this for sure, being able to take it apart and clean it really well. And most like full caliber suppressors that you can take apart and clean, I mean, those are over $1,000. So in the grand scheme of things, you're getting a really well engineered suppressor for your 22 long rifle. And if you're paying prices for 22 long rifle right now from third parties, you've got the chump change to be able to afford this, no problem.
Yeah, they're definitely
check that out.
a slick design.
Yeah, it's got a nice muzzle on it. The flutes, like Sam said, the decibel reduction is 117, which is pretty. They're boasting that it's lower than traditional 22 suppressors because they're not using K baffles. They're using a pig nose baffle design, which provides supposedly superior sound muffling. Yeah, if it sounded like that every time I shot, I'd get one.
Oh my god! If you had a suppressor that it just came out going, I go, oh my, that'd be amazing. Like, come on, New Jersey, we got pig sound silencers. How can you? That's cartoon stuff. How could you make that illegal?
So you can check that out at surefire.com. And then look on their products, and they should have sound suppressors under tactical equipment. So the next product up that I wanted to talk about actually is a sponsored product from Action Target that sponsors this podcast, and actually now we have a discount code set up. So if you guys have been holding off on getting some steel, now is the time to do so because you can get 15% off your order by using the promo code radio15. That's radio and the number 15. You can also click on the Action Target banner on the Firearms Insider website or go to firearmsinsider.tv/actiontarget. So the sponsored product that I'm going to be featuring today is the Evil Roy Practice Target. And what this is a three-legged target stand that actually folds up kind of nice and easier to transport, and it's got interchangeable target heads that you can change out. You can buy the heads separately and just buy one stand that comes with a head. So say I bought the Evil Roy practice stand with the IDPA 40% silhouette target. You can actually buy like some 12-inch diameter circle heads and then swap them out. The steel does come in 2 different grades. So you can get the AR500 armor steel, which will work from 22 rimfire all the way to 44 Magnum, or you can get the heavy-duty version for I think it's only an extra $30. An extra $30, and it'll take up to rifle rounds up to 308, with a minimum distance of 100 yards, obviously. They do allow, because the base, I wish I could bring one out, but it's much too heavy and to show this on the camera. But the base actually has kind of like a swiveling gooseneck that the target heads fit on. But when you swivel it, there's another smaller head, so you can actually change the height. There's 2 heights to these stands. But at the tallest, it's probably standing at about 4.5 feet tall. And the other one, when you switch it, it's probably more like 3 feet. And of course, you can change the positions of the legs too. So if you've got uneven terrain that you want to set these on, the legs are made of AR500 steel too. So they're meant to take a beating, really heavy duty nuts and bolts in places. One of the other advantages, I've actually got a target head here. You can see on the back end of it, this is on all the Evil Roy practice target heads. They've got this mount. So there's no exposed hardware to shoot at and possibly damage. So you're going to have steel that lasts a whole lot longer. And the way, when you set the stand up and you put the head on there, it's automatically going to have a downward angle, so that when you shoot at it, all your splash from your bullet's going to go straight downwards, and you've got a lot less potential for ricochets. So the price of just any one of the heads and the stand is $149. And then add $30 if you want a heavy-duty plate. So your choices for heads is a 6-inch circle, an 8-inch circle, 10-inch, 12-inch, 40% ISPC torso, and then just an 8x12 rectangle. And then you get, for an extra $30, you also get a 1x2 holder for paper. So it's pretty much just a it's a metal platform that lets you put in some wood, and then you can staple your paper targets to it. So that way you can easily replace the wood and the paper, and you have something that's going to stand up to wind and possible, if someone missed really badly and hit your target stand. If you're running something with like a PVC target stand, it's done. I mean, I built one at a PVC and didn't even last a day. Somebody, just an errant bullet hit one and it just shattered in the wrong spot. So if you're looking to invest in steel, I would highly recommend Action Target.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good price too. I was expecting it to be a little more than that $149.
Yeah, this would work really well for cowboy shooters. That's why it gets the name Evil Roy, because if you're not familiar, it's actually Randy Rogers' grandpa, but he's a well-known cowboy action shooter, and so he helped develop these target stands with Action Target. So they use these quite a bit, just the elevation and being able to swap out the heads with different shapes.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I like the customization of it. You can swap it out for whatever particular sport, whatever you're trying to achieve.
Yep. Yeah, and it's kind of nice to have the low setting and the high setting, because if you're not shooting a long distance and you're shooting from a bench, and maybe you don't want it to stand that tall, and it's just a real quick, easy rotation around and moving, putting the head on something else. And then when you're looking to store this thing or put it in the trunk of your car, you just unscrew the two wing nuts and take off the target head, and then you can just swivel the whole gooseneck downwards into itself, and it actually has that little handle built right into it. So you just lift it straight up, and it's AR-500 steel, so it's heavy, but it definitely not gonna kill you. You can pick it up out of your trunk and carry 2 or 3 of them with you to the range, no problem. So make sure you guys check that out. In the future, I hope to plan on doing some reviews, video reviews, and in those videos, I will most likely be shooting action target steel, so you guys will get to see firsthand not only the product I'm reviewing, but some sweet steel action. So let's get into the main topic. We're going to go ahead and let TJ take the wheel.
Yeah, this week I have the Spyderco Triangle Sharp Maker Knife Sharpener. I used to think I was pretty good at sharpening knives just with a little flat stone, and then I realized that my edges weren't staying very consistent and wasn't able to hold an edge very long, so I was getting tired of having to sharpen my knives all the time, so I bought this knife sharpener because it just seemed like a pretty good choice, and turns out I was right. Let's see. The way it works, it's got this plastic base that these 2 ceramic triangular rods sit in, and they just kind of sit in the slots that are already pre-angled to either 30 degrees or 40 degrees, I think, and it's somewhere in that range. But it just depending on the blade you want, you can choose the different angle. But basically, all you do is you take your knife and you hold it straight up and down and just drag it along this stone. And since it's already angled, you don't have to worry about keeping the perfect angle. Their theory is that it's easier to hold it straight up and down than it is to hold it at that exact 15-degree angle off of the stone. And they're right about that. It makes it pretty simple. If you look at the picture that I have in the review, on the other side of the rods, they have these 2 little brass rods, and that's for you put your hand, your support hand under that. If you're holding the sharpener, put that under that, and if you get a good rhythm going and you end up coming up higher than one of the ceramic rods and come back down, slip off of it, you don't cut your hand open. So that's a pretty good safety feature. And it came with 2 of these ceramic rods. One of them's the coarse rod, one of them's the fine finishing rod. So you can get them razor sharp. After I sharpened the first knife with this, I actually filleted a piece of paper. You could still see paper on the bottom, and then there was a little piece sticking up. I might go back and edit my review now that I'm thinking about it and throw that in there because it's pretty neat. But let's see, the claim to fame, it's simple, intuitive knife sharpening. The target market is anyone who needs a knife sharpener, obviously. The features and benefits, it's simple to use and sharpens really quickly. It's only available in one color and one configuration, which is black, but they do have a even finer, I think they call it the ultra fine rod, if you need it super extra sharp. But one of the other reviews I found says, even those with no experience using sharpening stones will quickly and easily get their blades back to factory sharpness and beyond, which again, I agree with very much. The MSRP on Spyderco's website is $99.95, but you can get them from Amazon for right around I put $58 in the review, $58.55, but when I looked back on it today, it was actually $54.20. So I guess the price fluctuates a little bit on Amazon, but it's a really good value, especially considering you don't have to really do much to get your knives sharp. And so my rating, I have the pluses is very intuitive, sharpens quickly, multiple sharpening angles, and being able to sharpen different types of blades and points, which I didn't cover. They actually have, you can sharpen scissors with a little side slot that they have. It puts it at a much shallower angle for sharpening scissors, and they have these little U-shaped notches which help you sharpen needles and fishing fishing hooks and stuff like that if you need that. So I gave this a rating of 9.5, which is amazing.
Sweet. So, if you've got knives of different lengths, is it still going to be pretty easy to use?
Yeah, basically what you do is you just put your knife, you put it close to the top of the stone, just as close as you possibly can to the hilt of the knife, and as you drag it downward, you're also pulling the knife towards you, like in a slicing motion. And I suppose if you had a longer knife, you just kind of slow down your downward movement, so that way by the time you get to the end, you still have stone to go, because the stones are kind of short. They're about 5 inches or so, maybe a little over 5 inches. So if you drag it down too fast, you're not going to sharpen the entire blade. So you just got to find a good balance of that.
Sweet.
Oh yeah, I didn't mention it also comes with an instructional DVD that shows you the guy sharpens everything from knives to machetes, hatchets, fishing lures, just all kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. They show you the versatility of it right there.
Well, and it looks compact enough that if you were fishing or hunting, you can store this in your gear and sharpen it in the field or on the water if you had to.
Right. Yeah. If you needed to, it's probably in about a 3-inch by 8-inch length, and it's only about an inch thick maybe when it's closed up. So it's pretty compact. You just throw it in a drawer, like you said, a tackle box or something like that.
Sweet. Well, thanks for that review. And
Yeah.
I believe next Sam's got something for us.
I sure do. This is a little less involved of a review, perhaps. It's a very simple accessory, which may garner varying opinions. But what I am reviewing is, if you could see it there, not particularly the style that I purchased, but the slide plate cover by Lone Wolf Distributors. And just kind of running through the review, its claim to fame, I don't know if it really has a claim to fame besides offering great customization. They have, like, when you factor in the color choices, because they do red, blue, black, and silver, or chrome, whatever they term it as, and all the different designs, you have like hundreds of options. So if you're the guy that wants to really customize your Glock, then that's the place to go. The options are everywhere from the reasonable, such as the come and take them sentiment, to a little picture of a dog and it says sheepdog on it, to Playboy bunnies and zombie faces. Like, they have everything. It kind of adds a little touch to your Glock. The target market, it's really just for anybody who wants to let's add a little extra bit of flavor. Features and benefits. Well, it's an all aluminum piece. I know the factory Glock part is inserted. It's metal insert inside of polymer, so potentially you have a little bit more of a structural integrity with an all aluminum piece. They are anodized, I believe, and it's a very simple product. I think its major negative thing, if anything, would be time will tell how durable the printing is, but I don't know if it's just me and I wasn't paying attention when I first took it out of the wrapper, but I could have sworn I smudged the printing on it already slightly. So I don't know how long it'll last in its current condition, but we will see. Aesthetic options or finishes, like I said, there's a ton to choose from. you can check out their website. I purchased mine on Amazon. It's the same price that you get on their website, and it's sold on Amazon by them. And I know we are affiliated with Amazon now, so if you guys out there are looking to get yours, search for it on Amazon and use the affiliate link. What others are saying, I haven't really had a chance to look that up yet, but when I do write up the review, it'll be there. The price point, most of them are around $15. Some of them are a few extra dollars depending on the finish and the design. Availability, the custom-made ones, some of them have a 2-week turnaround time, I guess, to have them print them out and send them out. But I got mine through Amazon in 4 days, 3 days, something like that. Need it now availability, like I said, it's customized, so you're going to buy it online. I don't know how fast Lone Wolf ships, but I got mine from Amazon relatively quickly. Our rating, I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to give it an 8. Based upon the fact that there is such a variety of choices. Like I said, there's 4 color options, hundreds of patterns, so you could really, it's a cool little spot to kind of just add a little bit of flair to your gun if that's your thing, and you could always find something that you'd like. So I'm going to give a big points for that, taking a little bit of points away because, like I said, I think just from handling it a little roughly, like sliding it on, I think I may have smudged it slightly or rubbed off a bit of the printing. So that takes a little bit away from it as far as durability goes.
If it's laser engraved, what's there to smudge?
I don't know if maybe I smudged it or maybe my hands were just dirty and I scuffed it up. I don't know. I'll try to clean it. That's a good point. That is a very good point, Ryan. If it is laser engraved, then how do you smudge it? And it is laser engraved, so.
Well, one nice thing is that it being compatible. These back slide covers are compatible with every single Glock model except the 42 has a different size frame. So I don't know if it takes the same or not. So, but if you are part of an organization or a network, if you will, and a lot of these members had Glocks, and you could take the logo of that organization and have it put on a bunch of these back cover plates and then send it to all the members, and so there's a sense of community. If you had like a motorcycle club or a baseball team or your police department or your podcasting network, Jake.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, it's a really neat gift, and I could see a lot of situations where this would be awesome for, and then the people that had XDs or M&Ps could be left out of it and be like, oh, too bad.
Well, also, here's another thing, Lone Wolf, if you're listening, maybe you want to jump in and look out for Firearms Radio Network. Help us out.
Yeah, if you need the logo files, just email me. I got them. Yeah, this is cool. My only other thing is I actually have one of these. It's the Punisher skull, and it's on my competition gun. You may not want to put anything that's on the back of your self-defense pistol. That's the skulls or anything that's intimidating, because just in case, I don't know if whatever court you're in, if you got to go to court and defend why you shot somebody and you've got like a skull and crossbones on the back of your pistol, it doesn't bode well for you and the jury. And I know that might seem a little too far to some people, but I've heard some things. I think maybe Masad Ayub might have talked about that. I'm pretty sure he's got a strong opinion on it. Is I wouldn't put anything that painted you out to be a different person than you actually are on the back of your self-defense pistol. If it's for just plinking, if it's for shooting competitions, that's fine. But when you've got to, defend your life and shoot somebody, and that pistol gets taken as evidence, the Punisher's skull on the back of it is not going to score you a whole lot of points.
Yeah, I kind of have the same opinion as you on that. Just leave it as nondescript as possible for carry.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's sad that we live in a society now that, I mean, if you had the American flag on the back of it, you could be painted as a Tea Party, person, or
a fanatical teabagger.
Yeah,
you're a fanatical teabagger running around.
Just beware of that. Yeah. So cool. Yeah, those are awesome. And especially if you're able to, create some artwork in like a vector program like Adobe Illustrator and send them a PDF or an EPS of the artwork, they can engrave it onto the back of the slide for you, so you can have something completely custom done that nobody else has, like the Firearms Insider logo. last hint. So cool. Thanks for bringing that on.
Actually, you know what? I do need to, with hat in hand, apologize and say oops. Complete brain fart of the fact that they are laser engraved. And basically what happened was, I think there was like, what I was doing was, I think, because I got my hands dirty taking the old one off, and what happened was when I touched it, to me it looked like a smudge. So I was like, oh, I don't want to rub it too much, and I'm going to rub all the lettering off. But I just kind of gave it the spit finger test, and it's absolutely brilliant again. So 8.5.
I think I'm going to have to, I know I called you an expert panelist at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, you're going to have to take that back.
Revoke that title.
The false start to the show today kind of just... I'll
have to go back and edit that out. Yeah. So my review for this week is actually a kit that I bought for a Mosin Nagant. My buddy's Mosin 9130. It had some issues with firing consistently, so I took it from him to get it fixed. I didn't take it from him; he let me borrow it. And so when someone gives me a gun to get worked on, I kind of have a bad habit of trying to give it back to them in a better condition in which I got it, and that includes accessories. So nobody lend me a gun, because I probably will put a couple $100 into it, and I won't be able to help myself.
Oh, so that's a bad thing?
So, yeah, it's a bad thing. Don't do it. So I was interested in putting a scope on his 9130. He is kind of goofy because he's had some prior injuries in the past, so he shoots right-handed, but he kind of has to, with his eye, both eyes open, and kind of lead with his left eye. So I was like, oh, well, what if I get like a scout scope? Maybe that will, let him shoot out past 100 yards a little bit better, being that it's got the longer eye relief, kind of a bigger eye box. So I just remembered that Big 5 Sporting Goods carries 9130s all the time, and a lot of times they have, kind of economy priced scope kits. So I went in there, sure enough, they had one from AIM Sports, and they just call it on the package it says Deluxe Accessories Kit, but on their website they just call it the Mosin Nagant Combo Kit. So what it is, it's a 2 to 7 by 32 Scout scope, and then there's a Scout Picatinny rail mount that goes where the rear sight is, and then it comes with a sling, and then it comes with a rubber butt pad to replace the metal plate on the rifle stock, and then it comes with the rings for the scope itself. So the price was like $69.99. With tax came to about $75. And I put this thing on, and every little thing had something wrong with it, and I'm not very pleased with the way this worked out. And I did actually end up taking it back, because I was not impressed with the fit and finish of anything, and that's why I'm doing a thorough review on it, to make sure that any of you Mosin owners out there who were tempted to pick this up get a little bit of a heads up and have a little bit more foresight into what you could be getting yourself into. So we'll start with the scope itself. The clarity was really nice, for an or a cheaper scope. It's a brand new scope. It's got a blue lens coating, which I find is really nice for clarity and letting light in. It didn't feel like, compared to some other scopes, that probably on the same path, same line as like a Bushnell, around $100 scope. Light transmission was good. The finish of it was just matte black. The rings, not very good at all. They were single screw rings, one on each side of the scope. And then I actually found that tightening them, they wouldn't tighten down. I'd get like one half in, the other half in, and when I'd go to screw the alternate screw in, the other side would pop right out. So the threads weren't biting. And after sweating on it for about 30 minutes, I decided to just dig through my my screw drawer and find a longer screw with the same thread pitch. So I finally did that. I finally got it to tighten down. Not pleased with that at all. The metal on the thumb adjustment screws to tighten it to the mount itself were pretty cheap metal. Just screwing it with my screwdriver, the metal started to become a little bit pliable. The mount itself, how you mount a scout scope to a Mosin Nagant using this kit, you have to take your rear sight off, which is actually not very hard at all. It helps to have a C-clamp, so you can raise that the sight, and then you can use a C-clamp to kind of compress that leaf spring, and then you just take a punch and you punch out one pin, and then this rear sight comes right off. So the instructions actually said to remove the rear sight spring, the leaf spring, and then you install the scope. So the scope mount actually just there's two screws that go into the holes to where that pin was. So you got a screw on each side. That creates like a teeter-totter or a seesaw, depending on what side of the playground you're from originally. But not a level surface. It was just one point of attachment. So there's 3 set screws in the Picatinny rail that you have to tighten down, and it kind of you can adjust the angle of the scope, but it just seemed weird. Like I tightened one side down, I tightened in the other, and it always seemed like I could just with my hand push or raise one side or the other. On top of that, the Picatinny rail was so long, maybe to accommodate people's different length of pull and where they put their head with their aiming. I found that I needed to mount the scope as rearward as possible, especially with adding the 1-inch additional length with the rubber butt pad. You couldn't use the scope covers that come with it because the rings are so low that the bell of the objective on the scope would be almost touching the rest of the Picatinny rail that was in front of it. So if you wanted to still use the scope covers, you'd have to cut that Picatinny rail short by like 1.5 inches, and then grind it down. So that was kind of a bummer. So I got the scope on there and I got it tightened down to where I thought I liked it, and so I was looking through it and it looked really good, and I just thought I'd dry fire a couple times, and I did the first dry fire, and the Mosin Nagant bolt, it kind of, there's a lot of forward movement when you're dropping the trigger and the firing pins being thrown forward, and the whole scope kind of moved, and I did that like 3 or 4 times, and then all of a sudden the picture in the scope didn't look very good anymore. I could actually see the lens start to rotate forward every time I dry fired. So that was like, oh man, I don't know whether it was a dud or whether they all do that, but that was immediately a fail to me. And it's made in China, the scope, which, the quality control, I'm not sure. There's a lot of scopes that are made overseas, but this one in particular, just dry firing it, was starting to damage the inside with the lenses. So on top of that, the butt pad, wasn't even flush fitting to my stock, which I guess you could get out the whole sanding block and sand it down to make it flush fit. But but it wasn't worth it to me. I had already made the decision that I needed to take the whole thing back to the store. Other thing with the scope is that the magnification adjustment ring at the top that goes from 2 to 7 was really gritty, and it actually had a lot of play in it. Whether it had some kind of O-ring that keeps it sealed, you could push that thing forward and back like a fourth of an inch or an eighth of an inch. Really sloppy. And then when I got it all the way to 7 times magnification, there was actually a really hard like dent, like a detent. It was a hard click that just is unnatural with any other scope. I mean, I've had some cheaper like Tasco scopes that didn't even do that. So, all in all, poor quality. I thought Mosin Nagant, cost about $100 for the rifle. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money, over $100 to outfit it with a scope, but you're going to have to if you expect any kind of quality whatsoever. So, I'm going to give it a 4 as being bad. And I thought, well, maybe it's not just me. Maybe I'll just look into what other people's reviews are. So one person said the rubber buttstock and strap are the only things in this kit worth a dime. The scope is almost impossible to sight in. Even if you get it there, a few shots later, it's way off again. The mount is really cheap, so I'm not sure which is worse. Another review from Amazon says the mount is cheap. The front attached screws are short, only about 2 threads holding. He's talking about the scope rings, I believe. The other screws on the mount can not be made tight enough to hold the mount in place. In recoil, poor design, poorly executed. I sent it back. The rest of the kit may be okay. I never got past the mount. This is not my first or second or third scope mount. So the MSRP is $100. You can get it on Amazon for $54.78. I got it at Big 5 for $69.99. It's kind of nice that it comes with all the accessories in the bundle, in the kit, so it saves you money there. If you didn't have a sling and you couldn't handle the recoil and you wanted a little bit of a recoil pad to absorb some of that. But the scope and the mount are just, they're not going to hold up to the recoil of the 7.62 by 54R round in my mind. They couldn't even hold up to dry firing in my case. So I definitely give this a negative review, and I wouldn't trust it for using in the field, whether you're hunting or you're in Mother Russia and you're depending on this for fighting off Nazi zombies. I don't know. This doesn't do the motherland proud. So I would actually recommend against getting this item.
It's just the whole time. No, it's just the whole time you were talking about it. It's like underneath the top layer of presenting your review, I could tell there was just such disdain for this product. And reading your review, and like I was just shaking my head just looking at the package itself. Like I don't know. It's sporterizing Mosins, especially on a budget. It's just kind of comical.
Well, I mean, it could be done. I've seen if you like Moss Pawn and Gun, they did some sporterized Mosin conversions, and they look really good. But it's professionally done by a gunsmith.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. It's professionally done. Like they have it's not. Here's a $60 kit. Pop out a pin and set some set screws and throw this scope on there, and you're good to go. Any time that you're having basically a scope mount with a built-in fulcrum and counting on set screws to keep you a steady base like that. Accuracy in a rifle starts at the scope base.
Yep.
Having a stable platform for that scope, and when that's the level of stability, it's just you're ready. You're ready behind the curve, in my opinion. But it's just no. And why they just have? There's nothing deluxe about a sling. If you didn't get a sling with your Mosin, that's your own fault, because they give you slings, 2 oiler cans, 4 pouches, Like they're just giving the stuff away. So there's nothing deluxe about that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it actually looks like
this isn't.
it actually looks like one of the surplus things that comes with it anyways. And maybe they just
Yeah.
bought a bunch of extra ones and said, we'll throw these in there. So they let you return
I'm
that
glad
after
you
you
guys.
popped half of it off?
Oh, I opened it very carefully, and I'm very skilled with a Dremel and some black refinishing. So if anything, I did let them know that they are gonna have to send it back to the factory because of the scope. So I didn't feel bad because I let them know that the scope was what's the word? Ill functioning or bad, just bad.
Ill functioning.
Fail. Just fail. They're like, what's the reason for return, sir? Fail.
Just garbage.
Fail.
That butt pad looks terrible on there too.
It was really rigid. Like not. I feel like that it wouldn't resort. It feels just. It adds an inch to the length of pull, and that's it. I can push on it and press on it, and I didn't feel like it was taking any of that. It was really rigid rubber.
Well, it also looks like it hangs down about 1/4 to 1/2 inch.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. And then it's got that huge gap. I guess maybe if you had some notes you wanted to hide in there, you could just slip those in there pretty easy. But
yeah,
put some fire starter in there for survival.
Well, and
I don't know. It's a survival stock.
Well, these stocks are, made in all different countries, so I don't know if like the Russian stock would have fit that profile. I thought this was from Russia.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it didn't fit at all, and I wasn't gonna try and make the rubber butt pad fit too. So, tried it for you guys. It's definitely not something that I'd ever do again. Maybe if the scope worked, like was a good quality scope that I was confident in and didn't have those issues that I listed, I would have probably thrown away the mount and the rings and kept the sling and just thought, well, okay, I invested $75 in a decent scope. That ain't bad at all. But it wasn't even that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and $75 is not worth that sling.
But here's the thing: this is one of the rifles that won the European front of World War II. The advances of the Soviet Army were critical to winning the European theater. This is a gun that should be venerated, restored, part of everyone's collection. It's one of those classic guns of the world. Throwing I'm not talking about MSRP, but throwing $3 of Chinese-made junk onto it is borderline offensive to me. So, like, AIM Surplus, shame on you. Or AIM Sports, shame on you.
Yeah, no, it's not AIM Surplus, it's AIM Sports.
Yeah, it's just kind of Surplus comes right after it, in my mind.
Completely unaffiliated, right?
Yeah, hopefully. But you understand where I'm coming from, kind of. Like, it's meh.
Takes away the history of it, is what you're saying.
If you're gonna do it right, because like Ryan, like you said, Moss Pawn did a couple sporterized versions. Like, if you have good products to start with and you have a professional's touch, you could make this into a decent sporting rifle. Mm-hmm. But other than that, treat it with some respect. It's a really awesome rifle. Everyone should go buy a 9130.
Well, and if you've got good iron sights that are zeroed in, you can hit pop cans at 200 yards, no problem.
Right.
So actually, I didn't really need the scope. I just thought I'd do my buddy a favor, but it didn't work out.
To speak to the quality of the 9130s, I actually have one. We went camping on the beach on the river, and I actually dropped my bolt in the sand. Looking back, I have no clue why I had the bolt out, but I definitely dropped it in the sand and just kind of knocked it off and put it back in the gun, and I just heard it crunching its way in, but it still worked completely fine. Something you probably couldn't say about this scope.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the panel reviews. Let's get right into the Tech Gadget or app, and this one also comes from the NRA show. And this is the Gun Box, and it's a smart handgun safe. Looks a little bit like a George Foreman grill, but it's got some pretty intuitive technology into it. And I feel like we talked about smart safes in the past. And
I was just about to say that when we talked about what was it, the Hornady or another big company came out with like a new safe or a new handgun safe, and I couldn't think Browning, right? And I couldn't think of the name of the product, but I was referencing like half the things that this thing does, like as far as text alerts and all the stuff that we're going to talk about in regards to it. And when I saw it in the show notes, I was like, yes, that's what it was. I forgot all about it, but yeah. So that's what I was referencing way back when. This is a cool product.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt, right? Go back.
Hey, no sweat, man. It is pretty cool. There's a couple different models, and with price points depending on just how many awesome features you want. So the gun box that's RF only, it basically has an RFID scanner that responds to your individual chip that's embedded into a wristband. So you wear the wristband, you swipe it past the scanner. I don't know how close you need to get, but then it automatically opens up. So it's got 2 USB ports for charging devices or connected accessories. Which, I mean, if you're going to have kind of like an everyday nightstand safe, why not have it charge your iPhone? That's pretty awesome. Let's see, it's got internal motion vibration sensor with an audible alarm. In case you've got kids, you can hear, little Billy being a rascal and shaking your safe. It's made of aircraft strength aluminum alloy, the shell. It's got a battery backup with the shut-off switch and mounting holes to allow for mounting in any orientation. And the lock and the cable is not included, so you have to get that. So the price on that base model is $279. Then you're going to move up to the next gun box, which is RF plus biometric. So this has a 360-degree biometric scanner, which scans your fingerprint, and it holds multiple fingerprints in its memory. So you and your loved ones can each scan their fingerprint in here, and it doesn't. You don't have to be standing right in front of it. If you're in a situation where you're diving over the bed and trying to get your gun, one of the I've always thought about is making sure that your fingerprints in the correct orientation. This doesn't matter. 360 degrees, it's going to open up.
It's a good.
So the price on that is $299, which still it ain't bad at all. And then the next one is the Gunbox Premier, and that's $475, and that's actually got GPS tracking inside of it. So it's got 24/7 monitoring, tracking, and alert notifications, but there's a monthly subscription fee to whatever GPS service is providing that for you. And it looks like that's $75 a year for your first year of monitoring, and that's included in the price. So you're paying $475, you're actually paying $400, and then that extra $75 goes to your first year of subscription for the tracking. So that's kind of nice. All the same features as the other two. And then, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think this is a really good. It seems like a really good option because a lot of other of these types of things might just have a regular old push button simplex lock, and those can still be about $200. So paying an extra $50 to $100 seems like a pretty significant step up from some of those other models. One thing I do like about it too is this the aesthetics of it. This thing looks great because it doesn't scream, "Hey, this is a gun box." They have it on this Knight's table. It could be maybe it could be anything. Maybe a Wi-Fi gateway or like some kind of medical device. It doesn't scream, "Hey, steal me! I'm a gun box."
Yeah, that was like I was saying earlier when I rudely interrupted Ryan. we were talking about this Browning safe, and I was like, at the time about the Browning safe, I was like, there's nothing special about this. Like, it exists elsewhere. Why bother? And I was referencing this product, the gun box, and I couldn't think of its name at the time. But just like you said, TJ, it doesn't scream gun box. You could put this almost anywhere in any home, and it could fit in. It's very subdued. It has a nice design. Watch the videos on its construction. It's very sturdy, very well put together. All the demonstration videos, it works great. You have that flexibility, and in my opinion, the mid-range model is probably going to sell the best, and it's probably the best value, because for $20 more you get the option of fingerprint scanning, and why not? Why wouldn't you for $20 get that option? The GPS tracking, I think's a little excessive. I don't know if I would quite go for that, but definitely interested for when I, if ever, decide to keep a defensive pistol on hand. This would be on the top of my list for looking in storage options for that. You can purchase extra RFID stickers and literally put that on anything you want. Sync
Yeah,
that
I
to the
like that.
box. Extra wristbands. Everyone in your family could have a wristband, and depending on how you organize it, okay, all right, honey, make sure you put on your wristband before you go to bed. Everyone who you would want access to that gun in the event of emergency. Okay, before we go to sleep, you put the wristband on, because if there's a bump in the night, anyone can have access to it that needs to. Something like that. The RFID technology even avoids having to find the thumbprint scanner. You swipe and then your hand's on. I think that's just awesome.
Now, Ryan, going back to what you had asked a little while ago, I looked through the FAQs just now, and it wasn't a direct question, but apparently they used to offer a ring. You have either the wristband or the ring option, but it looks like they discontinued the ring because you basically had to touch the box to get it to activate it. But it's saying with the wristband, you can be approximately 1.5 to 2 inches away in order to open the box. So that kind of answers your question there. I personally feel like you want a little bit more range, just because it seems like if you're only 1.5 inches away, you're going to have to basically touch it, pull your hand back, to allow it to open, and then reach for your pistol, rather than just when you get about 4 inches away, it start opening. That would seem more ideal to me. But I suppose it depends on the limitations of the technology. So.
Well, you also, if you walk past the table in your hallway, you keep multiple boxes, in the house. Let's say you have one in the hallway or one, in a high traffic area. You don't want, when you're 6 inches away from it to pop open every time you walk by.
Yeah, so that's a good concern too.
I think one is it's pushing the limit of where you'd want it. Either way, you're gonna have to really practice and train to activate and get your hand in a position where you can get it, because depending on how fast the thing pops open, you can't just really swipe towards you. I think you have to kind of swipe away, come around and grab. But 1 to 2 inches is definitely good. I'm just so excited about this. There's so much on my to buy list right now. It's a little crowded, but I want this thing. It's nice.
Yeah, I don't have a gun box right now, which is probably shame on me, but when I get one, it'll probably be this one, this mid-range one with the fingerprint scanner and the RF. I think that'd be a great option, because like I said earlier, a lot of them are $200 and up anyway, so why not go $299 and you get this awesome looking biometric RF gun box, Yep.
So the inside dimensions, one thing that's important that you want to make sure that how much can you really fit inside this thing. It is 8.9 inches by 6.5 inches, and the the total thickness of what you're putting in there. It's got to be 1.5 inches or less. So that might limit you. There's not many handguns out there that are thicker than 1.5 inches. But if you're thinking about putting passports and magazines and other stuff in there, it might get pretty kind of crowded a little quickly. So this has really got to be for the gun itself and a couple mags, and not try and treat this like a jewelry safe or passport safe.
Right. And they show a picture. What's that? Go ahead, Ryan.
I was just gonna say the most expensive one, the Premier, that's got GPS tracking. Check this out. If you have a career, say you're a trucker, or you're doing a lot of traveling, most people who travel and conceal carry, they have some kind of lockbox inside their vehicle. You get this, any one of these really would work, but if you get the Premier with the GPS tracking, bam, you don't have to get LoJack for your vehicle, because if you lose your vehicle, someone steals it, and you've got this well hidden inside where they haven't taken it out and beat it with a hammer yet, you could just call up the company and be like, hey, where's my vehicle? My safe was inside of it. And then you're not paying for LoJack. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain I heard an interview with, I'm not sure if it was the owner or one of the marketing or sales types people, but I did hear an interview on another show about this, and I'm fairly certain that once you report it stolen, they immediately forward that information to the police, and I think they ping it every so often to where they tell them the current latitude and longitude, just so they can keep up with it and track them down.
Yeah. My only thing is, how long will the battery last? And once the battery's dead, will it still be trackable via GPS? If it was stolen and you didn't react promptly.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's getting down to the gritty details.
I think it says what's the battery backup time. It says it somewhere. I could have sworn I read it.
Probably under the FAQs.
Here we go. What kind of battery does the gun box last? How long will it last? Gun box, let me see. It says the battery will last 3 days when the switch on the bottom of the box is turned off. It will last up to 8 hours when the switch on the box is in the on position. Keep in mind that the alarm system will still arm when the unit is turned off. It only needs to be turned on to gain access via the RFID. So it looks like if you want to always have that RFID and fingerprint scanner active, it would only last about 8 hours. But if you're going to work, you could switch that off, and then if somebody does happen to steal it, you have 3 days to report it and find it.
Yep. And it looks like there's a 10% military discount and a 10% law enforcement discount. You can email them about that. The box also, one physical thing that we didn't mention, that there's 2 opening mechanisms to the box itself. So there's a physical spring which ensures that the box pops up enough to become free from the locking latch, and then there's actually fluid-filled gas pistons. And so they're not designed to force the lid open under every condition, but they do assist in getting it open and free so you can get to your gun pretty quickly. So they're actually, the shocks are meant to restrict the speed of opening, so as prevent the box from slamming open or jarring or tossing the gun inside, which is kind of important, and especially if you've got your gun, with a round in the chamber, and the box falls down or gets opened abruptly. So I think it's pretty cool, especially the different ways of mounting it, and the profile of this can really fit in a couple different ways. So make sure you go to the website www.thegunbox.com and check that out.
Yeah, one more thing you mentioned, mounting. I believe on the same interview that I had heard, they mentioned that you can mount it under a table, and then I guess the way it opens, it keeps it from just dropping the gun on the floor whenever it opens. I don't remember the exact details, and I can't find them here, but that would be another thing to look for, that you would be able to mount it under a desk or table if you did need to.
Sweet. So that's it. I also want to make sure that you guys check out the AR-15 podcast on the Firearms Radio Network. Listen to Reed Snyder and JW Ramp talk about everything that has to do with that black rifle that we all love so much, America's favorite firearm. So listen and subscribe by going to www.ar15podcast.com. Remember to send questions or comments to podcast@firearmsinsider.tv or myself, cross@firearmsradio.tv. Remember to subscribe and leave us an iTunes review. And check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network, www.firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. Be sure to check out the Firearms Insider for NRA show coverage, and go on over to our Facebook page and give us a like and follow all the latest news updates. So thanks again, guys, for joining me this week. Appreciate it again, as always. You're some of my favorite faces to see during the week.
Well, thank you, Ryan.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yep.
So it's always a pleasure to come on, and I hope next time I'm on I could re-earn my title of expert panelist.
Just come on, just wash your hands before you come on.
Yeah, wash your hands, and maybe next time we'll lift probation.
All right, sounds great.
All right, shoot safe, guys. Have a good week.
How
You
you
as
too.
well.